All right, interview time once again. And today we are talking with Paul Caggegi. Thanks for coming on the show, Paul.
Pleasure, Al.
Great to have you here. Now, I suppose we generally like to start, if you can tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into comics in the first place.
Oh, yeah, sure. The way I got into comics was sort of like a comic book story. You know, I found a stash of my uncle's old comics in my grandfather's house, rescued them from the man because he would just put them out in the trash.
Right.
And so there I got into Avengers, X-Men, and we're talking circa 1960s, 1970s.
Nice.
That sort of vintage class of X-Men. Really got hooked. There was also some other books, some independent stuff, heavy metal magazines, Epic by Marvel, all that sort of stuff. And that really got me into the genre. As well as just art in general.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until years later that I started collecting myself through high school. Sort of picked up a lot of the titles from where they left off, but got interested in a lot of other stuff, like Sam Keith's The Max, for instance. Platinum Grit was an Australian one. Wave Dancers was an ElfQuest spin-off that was done by Australians. Little things like that. Gen 13, Image, that sort of stuff.
Yep, awesome. And has that had a lot of influence on your own work, any of those pieces? Anything in particular that kind of pushed you in a certain direction with the art? Or anything?
Absolutely, yeah. When I was reading through the heavy metal mags, I came across the likes of Richard Corbin, Jean-Gerard Mobius, some Neil Adams, although not a lot. But Corbin was the one that sort of really pushed the art. He was doing mixed media back then. There'd be an oil painting on top of a psychedelic photograph. And I just thought, wow, this is amazing, where comics could go. It's not just sort of line on paper.
Yeah, the potential for where it had to go.
Yeah.
And I mean, now you're working on the weekly digital series.
Trying to, yeah.
Yes, which is what's that? That's two issues in, or
we're 2 issues in into Pandeia, and it's been a fun ride. I didn't think I'd actually get onto the webcomic bandwagon. It was originally going to be a film, and then I realised how much work it was going to involve. So I sort of toned it back and said, kind of good with the storyboards, maybe I'll revisit this art comic thing.
Sure.
And it went really well. And so the first 2 issues, 48 so pages, it's taken me 2 years, and so I'm really hoping to speed up my efforts a little bit, because I do have a goal in mind for the story.
Okay, well, if you could tell us a little bit more about Pandeia, sort of set the scene for us a little bit.
Okay, I've set the story in Earth's distant future, so we're sort of familiar with who we are still, but there's no moon. The moon's been shattered. It's turned into a ring around the Earth.
Right.
There's destabilization everywhere. But I wanted to imagine a world where there's new politics, new religions, new ways of doing things, and just see what that world would be like. It involves a quest for restoration. It involves sort of the tomb raiding and things like that, and finding ancient books and puzzles and things like that. It's a bit of an action adventure, but there's a lot of detective work and stuff like that involved as well.
So how much has been sort of followed through from Earth's past, and how much is actually still hidden? Is that kind of a lot of stuff that's being unearthed?
Oh, yeah. Although there won't be a great deal of that. It's really kind of a new reality, but there's going to be remnants of the past. I just don't want to get too cheesy, I don't want to sort of think maybe a Barbra Streisand song survives and make that a plot
Of all
point.
things, why Barbra Streisand?
Random, I don't know.
And how can people get a hold of it at the moment?
Oh, well, they can go to pandeia.com. Will there be like a little...
Yeah, we'll put that on the screen. Yeah.
Awesome. There's an e-store there. They can read it for free online. All the pages are there. But you can download the really cool ebooks, which are high resolution for your e-readers. And there are plans to get some print versions out there. Issue 1s are already out in print via indieplanet.com.
Okay.
And issue 2 is on its way to the printers.
Excellent. And you've also had some, you've been Supernova and things like that you've shown up at before?
Yes, last year was my first year tabling Supernova, so I had an issue of that, as well as some side stuff that I did in some collaborative anthologies with some other artists worldwide, collectively known as the Illo Pond.
Okay.
And they do some really, really good work, and I'm 3 books in with them. which I'll be tabling all of them at Supernova this year. So I would love it if some people came down from who saw this to my table.
Absolutely. Well, we'll try and push them along, definitely. So Pandeia, obviously, you're moving ahead with that. Any other things on the back burner that you'll be moving on to, or just focusing on that?
I think my focus is Pandeia for the next year at least, to try to get as much of this story told as possible.
Sure.
My wife just keeps ratting on me, just sort of like, when are you going to finish the damn thing?
Finish
So,
it.
yeah. So, you can move on and have a normal life and raise your kid. So
who wants a normal life?
Oh, exactly. This is way more fun.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's my goal, and I really got to try to keep focus. Although no doubt something will come up that I'll just go, yes, please. I want part of that. So, yeah.
Always the way, isn't it? Okay. Well, look, fantastic. We'll definitely all have to keep an eye out for that. So thank you very much for being on the show.
Oh, thanks, Al. It's been a pleasure.